the British Grand Prix.
On two for Mercedes.
For Lewis Hamilton.
And it goes to the championship leader, Lewis Hamilton.
It's Lewis Hamilton, champion of the world. It's Lewis Hamilton, not Hamilton.
What if I told you that the greatest Formula One driver of all time, a man with 7 World Championship titles, 105 Grand Prix victories, and a legacy that no one thought could ever be touched, is being replaced?
I'm just useless.
So say again?
I'm just useless.
But that isn't obviously the case.
It clearly
with your
is.
What?
Oh, it clearly is. Just drove terribly. It is what it is.
Was it? Do you just not feel comfortable in the car in that part of quali? Did something change?
Nothing changed.
Right, sound like Lewis.
Not rumoured. Not speculated. Officially, Ferrari has come out and said it. Guenther Steiner, the man who developed Lewis Hamilton's supposed replacement, has looked the world in the eye and said, Oliver Bearman is ready.
Let's imagine that Ferrari does opt to replace Lewis Hamilton next year. Who replaces him? Scott, as a conundrum for you.
I don't know if it is much of a conundrum, to be honest, because I think they would just probably go and say to Io Komatsu, sorry, know that you thought you had Ollie Bearman under lock and key for 2 years, but here's a bunch of money or some free engines or something, and then it's Bearman in the car, I would imagine. I think you back your own. I think it would just be Bearman's time to step up.
Yeah, probably a little bit early for Bearman. He's got a lot of rough edges to smooth out, as you've alluded to, but that is an easy in-house example. Like, there's not actually that many available drivers, because if you go beyond that, you start looking in the realm of the sideline drivers, the Bottas's and the Perez's, or the drivers who might be extracted from elsewhere.
If you went down that route, I think they should go for Alex Albon. I think he's a great person to try and pair Charles Leclerc with. I think they'd get on really well. I know that Leclerc thinks very highly of Alex. I think he once called him the most underrated driver that he'd raced against in junior categories. He's a driver on the up. He's at his peak so far in terms of performance levels. So he'd be a great person to slot in. But it wasn't too early to put Leclerc in when he'd had one season in Formula One.
Yeah, although I think Leclerc's Sauber season in 2018 was better than Bearman's has been so far. I've been impressed with Bearman's speed, but a few more rough edges. But yeah, needs must, so it's a logical move.
Ready for Ferrari. And if you think that is wild, wait until you hear that Lewis Hamilton has now been called Ferrari's number 2 driver behind Charles Leclerc. Guys, is the greatest F1 career in history coming to an end? Today, we are going deep. Stick around, because this one is going to hit different. Before we talk about the end, let's talk about the beginning, because if you don't understand how great Lewis Hamilton is, you won't understand why this moment hurts so much. Lewis Hamilton entered Formula One in 2007 with McLaren, and he nearly won the championship in his very first season. Let that sink in. A rookie, almost a world champion. He did win it in 2008. Then again in 2014, 2015, 2017, 2019, and 2020. 7 titles, matching the legendary Michael Schumacher's all-time record. But it's not just the championships, it's how he drove. Hamilton's driving style is a masterclass in precision and aggression combined. He is one of the smoothest one-lap qualifying drivers in F1 history. His ability to extract the absolute maximum from a car in a single lap is almost supernatural. He is clinical under braking, attacking the corner later than almost anyone else while maintaining composure. And his wet weather driving? Arguably the best the sport has ever seen. Silverstone 2008, Germany 2011. His wet weather instincts are on another level entirely. He holds the records for most race victories, 105 wins, most pole positions, 104, most podium finishes, 197, most points scored in F1 history. This man didn't just compete in Formula One, he redefined what was possible. And yet here we are in 2026, talking about whether it's time for him to go. In 2024, Hamilton shocked the entire motorsport world when he announced he was leaving Mercedes, the team he'd spent 12 years with, the team he won 6 of his 7 titles with, to join Ferrari. His childhood dream team, the red car, the prancing horse. Everyone said it was a fairy tale move. Hamilton in red. What could go wrong? A lot, as it turns out. His debut 2025 season at Ferrari was painful to watch. While teammate Charles Leclerc consistently outqualified and outraced him, Hamilton struggled to adapt to the SEF car's characteristics. The front wing setup, the simulator feedback, the driving style demands of the Ferrari, it just wasn't clicking. Now in 2026, things have improved slightly. Hamilton sits 5th in the Drivers' Championship with 51 points and even broke his Ferrari podium drought with a 3rd place in China. So there is progress. But here's the problem. Leclerc is 3rd in the championship with 59 points, leads their head-to-head qualifying battle 3-1, and has looked comfortable and fast all season. Former F1 driver Nelson Piquet Jr. recently made a brutal but honest assessment. Leclerc is the 0.1 driver, while Hamilton is 0.2. Right now, Hamilton finishes behind him in about 80% of the races. That's the reality. That's where we are. Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Ferrari brought 11 new upgrades to the car at the Miami Grand Prix. 11. At once. And former IndyCar driver James Hinchcliffe made a point on the F1 Nation podcast that should concern every Ferrari fan. The #1 rule of engineering is make one change at a time, so you can isolate what's actually better and worse. With 11 changes dropped simultaneously, with no pre-season testing to dial things in, both Hamilton and Leclerc are essentially flying blind. They can't tell which upgrade is helping and which is hurting. Compare that to McLaren, the reigning Constructors' champions, who carefully staggered their upgrades to maximize learning and performance. That's why McLaren keeps winning. Ferrari is gambling, and right now, both of their drivers are paying the price for it. Okay. Here it is, the moment you clicked this video for. Guenther Steiner, the man who oversaw Oliver Bearman's early F1 career as Haas team principal, has gone on record and said, flat out, that Bearman is ready for a top team. His exact words? I think Oliver now is ready to go to a team where he can win races, or at least go to the podium. So who is Oliver Bearman? The 21-year-old British driver is a Ferrari Driver Academy graduate who has been quietly impressing everyone at Haas. In the 2026 season alone, he finished 7th in Melbourne and 5th in China, and his consistency has been remarkable. He currently sits 8th in the Drivers' Championship with 17 points after just 4 races. For a Haas driver, that is exceptional. Steiner believes Bearman likely has clauses in his contract that allow him to move to a top team if the opportunity arises. And the obvious top team? Ferrari. The parallels to Charles Leclerc are impossible to ignore. Leclerc also came through the Ferrari Driver Academy. He also did his time at Haas before graduating to the Scuderia. Bearman is walking the exact same path. And Steiner made the connection himself. It would be good for Ferrari because they have supported him for a long time, and they could have one of their own in their car, like with Charles Leclerc. The blueprint is already written. Bearman just needs the seat to open up. And the seat that opens up? Lewis Hamilton's. Now look, I want to be fair here, because Lewis Hamilton deserves that. He is 41 years old, yes. But Fernando Alonso is out there racing at 44 and nobody is asking him to quit. Hamilton has said repeatedly that he has unfinished business in Formula 1 and that he won't leave until he's given himself a real shot at that 8th championship. His Ferrari contract is believed to run at least through 2027. So he isn't going anywhere tomorrow. But here's the honest truth, guys, and I think deep down Hamilton fans know this too. The sport has changed around him. The new 2026 regulations were supposed to be a reset, a chance for Hamilton to find his footing in a new era. And while he has shown improvement, that podium in China was beautiful to watch. Leclerc is still consistently faster. Consistently. Piquet Jr. said it plainly. Hamilton has spent 20 years in Formula 1, and this is naturally the winding down of his career. And pundit voices are growing louder. The calls for retirement are getting harder to ignore, not because Hamilton isn't still talented, he absolutely is, but because the gap between what he was and what he currently is has never been more visible. The question isn't if Hamilton will leave Ferrari. The question is when, and whether he'll leave on his own terms, chasing glory, or whether the sport will eventually make that decision for him. So here's where we land, guys. Lewis Hamilton is one of the greatest athletes in human history. Full stop, no argument. The records, the championships, the driving genius, it's all real. And nothing that happens from this point forward changes that. But Formula One is brutal. It doesn't care about legacies. It doesn't care about sentiment. Oliver Bearman is ready. Ferrari knows it. Steiner has said it publicly. And whether Hamilton exits in 2026, 2027 or beyond, the conversation has officially started. The clock is ticking. Is Lewis Hamilton's F1 career almost over? Tell me what you think in the comments. Are you a Hamilton fan who believes he still has one more championship in him? Or do you think it's time for him to walk away on top and preserve his incredible legacy? Drop a comment, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, because we cover F1 like nobody else does. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Lewis clearly enjoys these cars much more. Ferrari is more competitive, and I think will make a big step for Miami. Lewis obviously prefers this type of car to the seasons we had with the ground effect cars that were smashing against the ground and quite brutal things. It didn't seem to suit his style. But his mood and just the way he's going about it, he just seems a lot happier because Ferrari is more competitive. He's got to beat Charles Leclerc. He's going to win the World Championship in the other Ferrari and others. So let's see if he can sustain that. I mean, if there's a sniff of a victory, I think Lewis is still very much capable of taking that.
Martin Brundle has shown strong confidence in Lewis Hamilton's future with Ferrari, predicting that 2026 could be the season where he fights for victory again. He believes that if Ferrari gives even the smallest chance to win, Hamilton will take it immediately, showing his natural racing instinct and winning mentality. Brundle also hinted that this move could be a warning sign for Mercedes, as Hamilton's potential success with Ferrari might shift the balance of power in Formula One. This has also sparked a big question among fans. What do you think? Should Lewis Hamilton have signed with Ferrari, or should he have stayed with Mercedes?
In mind. Now, we have plenty of upgrades coming this weekend. That is true for Red Bull, that is true for Ferrari, that is true for McLaren, that is also seemingly true for Aston Martin.
Today we are breaking down Martin Brundle's bold prediction about Lewis Hamilton's season with Ferrari, what it means for Mercedes, and why 2026 could be the year Hamilton silences every single critic who wrote him off. Stay with us, because this story is just getting started. Martin Brundle is not a man who throws words around carelessly. He has seen Formula One from the inside as a driver and from the outside as one of the sharpest analysts in the paddock. So when Brundle says Hamilton will take his chance, you listen. Speaking ahead of the Miami Grand Prix, Brundle was clear and direct. Lewis Hamilton, he said, is clearly enjoying these new 2026 cars far more than anything he drove in recent seasons. The old ground effect cars were brutal, smashing against the ground, unforgiving, and by Brundle's assessment they simply did not suit Hamilton's style. But these new regulations? These cars? Hamilton looks reborn. Brundle's exact take was simple. Ferrari is more competitive. They are expected to make a big step at Miami. And Lewis Hamilton, the most decorated driver in Formula One history, is primed and ready. The warning to the rest of the grid is clear. Give this man an opportunity, and he will not waste it. Now let's talk about context, because context matters here. Hamilton came into 2026 after what was, by his own standards, the worst season of his career. His first year at Ferrari in 2025 was a painful adjustment. The results were not there, the rhythm was not there, and plenty of people began to ask the uncomfortable question, is this the beginning of the end for Lewis Hamilton? But then something shifted over the winter. Hamilton himself said he came back rejuvenated. And the early races of 2026 have backed that up. At the Chinese Grand Prix, race 2 of the season, Hamilton ended a long wait and scored his first podium in Ferrari Red. It was a moment that felt significant, not just for the points, but for the momentum, for the belief. Japan was harder. He finished 6th while Leclerc came home 3rd. But even in those difficult moments, the wheel-to-wheel battles between the two Ferrari drivers have been some of the most entertaining racing of the young season. After 3 rounds, Hamilton sits 4th in the Drivers' Championship, behind Mercedes pair Kimi Antonelli and George Russell and his own teammate Charles Leclerc. 8 points separate him from Leclerc. He is not leading the championship, but he is in the fight. And that is all Lewis Hamilton has ever needed. Now let's address the elephant in the room, Mercedes. The Silver Arrows have been dominant in 2026. 3 races, 3 wins. Antonelli leads the championship, Russell is right behind him. Mercedes looks like the class of the field right now. But here is where Brundle's words carry real weight. He described the Miami Grand Prix as a relaunch of the season. Teams have had 5 weeks, a long enforced break, to develop, upgrade, and completely rethink their cars. Brundle specifically said Ferrari is among the teams expected to make a big step in Miami. That changes everything. If Ferrari closes that gap to Mercedes in Miami and beyond, and the pace indicators suggest they can, then Hamilton suddenly has a machine underneath him capable of winning races. And Mercedes knows what Hamilton does when he has a competitive car. 7 World Championships. 103 race victories, the most wins in Formula One history. This is not speculation, it is a track record built over 2 decades at the very top of motorsport. So yes, Mercedes should be watching, because the gap they currently enjoy may not last much longer. And speaking of Mercedes watching, Formula One fans on social media have already taken notice. After Brundle's comments circulated, Mercedes' social channels and fan communities lit up with a simple question that is impossible to ignore. Are we about to see Lewis Hamilton come back to Honus? That question is not coming from fear, it is coming from respect. Because everyone in Formula One knows that Lewis Hamilton, motivated, in a competitive car with a point to prove, is one of the most dangerous forces the sport has ever seen. Hamilton himself signed a multi-year deal with Ferrari. He has no plans to retire. He said it himself last November, he has a pretty long contract with the Scuderia, and when asked about his future, his answer has been consistent. He is not done, not even close. So what do we actually expect to see from here? Miami is next, a street-style circuit in Florida where Hamilton has historically been very strong. Ferrari arrives with upgrades, Brundle expects a big performance step, and Hamilton arrives with momentum, confidence, and something to prove. If Ferrari delivers the car, Hamilton will deliver the result. That is Brundle's prediction, and frankly, it is hard to argue with. The broader picture for 2026 is also fascinating. Brundle called it a wide-open season at the front. The regulations are new. The pecking order is still being written, and history tells us that in seasons like this, the best drivers, the ones with the most experience under pressure, eventually rise to the top. Lewis Hamilton is 41 years old. He has been written off before. Every single time, he has come back with something extraordinary. Do not make the mistake of writing him off again. That is the Brundle warning. That is the Hamilton story of 2026 so far. Ferrari is improving, Hamilton is firing, and Mercedes has been put on notice. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Hamilton can win in 2026? Can Ferrari really close the gap to Mercedes? Let us know, and we will see you in the next one.